The past few years, there's been a terrible, open, corrosive relationship between black people and the police in this country, the United States. I made some reference to this in talking about NWA and Straight Outta Compton, trying to draw a distinction between posturing flamboyantly in a recording studio and playing that game for real on the streets. This divide, of course, goes back to slavery, when a black man was considered to be 3/5 or 60% of a human being. I don't know who made that calculation, but that was understood to be true and a natural fact. Following the abolition of slavery during the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, we had the passage of the Jim Crow laws, which formalized and legalized segregation in this country under the guise of separate but equal. Jim Crow comes from a minstrel singer, a white man who performed in blackface, creating a character who behaved like an ignorant buffoon, a simpleton, something less than 100% human, eliciting much laughter from the white audience and creating a pernicious stereotype. Under the Jim Crow system, not only did the laws keep black and white separate, but it was also clearly and widely known that the blacks were inferior and had to keep their place, or else. The threat was always present, and it was not merely tacit. Or else could range from a tongue lashing to a whipping to a hanging. And what's important for me here now is that the role of the police was to enforce vigorously, if need be, the Jim Crow laws, keeping the colored people in their place, which was mainly down and out. The expression police brutality was not conjured out of thin air, and they could argue at that time that they were only doing their job, enforcing the laws of the land. Today, the police continue to enforce the law, and many black people consider themselves to be more targets than citizens whom the cops are supposed to serve and protect. They claim that the police are systematically killing blacks, especially young black males, and then getting away with murder, the crime being excused by some mumbo-jumbo of an internal investigation, clearing the cops every time. As a result, we have seen the creation of a new activist group, Black Lives Matter. The police, for the most part, feel that they are still only trying to do their job, which is law enforcement, and that they are being mistakenly framed as the bad guys and are getting seriously warped treatment by the media that has no idea about the split-second decision-making that constitutes their life on the streets. This has been the case for a long time, going back to when the police were the paid enforcers for the whites, adept at keeping black people in their place. The problem is deeply seated. Today's police are haunted and condemned by their past behavior. I found this passage near the end of Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail, sent to a group of white ministers who had accused him of being too extreme in his use of nonviolent protest. He wrote, "I must close now, but before closing I am impelled to mention one other point in your statement that troubled me profoundly. You warmly commend the Birmingham police force for keeping order and preventing violence. I don't believe you would have so warmly commended the police force if you had seen its angry, violent dogs literally biting 6 unarmed, nonviolent Negroes. I don't believe you would so quickly commend the policemen if you would observe their ugly and inhumane treatment of Negroes here in the city jail, if you would watch them push and curse old Negro women and young Negro girls, if you would see them slap and kick old Negro men and young Negro boys, if you would observe them, as they did on 2 occasions, refuse to give us food because we wanted to sing our grace together. I'm sorry that I can't join you in your praise of the police department." This is a lot of baggage. In fact, it's nothing but baggage, 100% baggage, on each side, every time this situation arises, the confrontation between a black person and the police. All that baggage creates a kind of madness. People can't think straight. The problem with the police, one they can't shake much as they try, is that they have to run, as we all must do, on their record, and their record when it comes to race is not good. It's baggage. As a nation, we are haunted by our past, the sins of our fathers, and driven by that, we are furiously committing new ones today, making a bad, sick situation even worse, adding a pile of wrongs in a blind search for what is right.